let's keep reading. Later during dinner time, Mama noticed that Michael was barely eating anything. He was already daydreaming about being taller. Michael, first things first, you won't grow if you don't eat, especially your vegetables, Mama said. But I'm not really hungry, he said. Raising her eyebrows, Mama gave him a stern look. Slowly, Michael picked up his fork and began to eat. Minutes later, his plate was clean and he was asking for more. That evening at bedtime, Michael set his favorite game shoes on the floor next to the growth chart hanging on the wall. Then he put on his pajamas, said his prayers, and jumped into bed. When Mama came in, Michael was fast asleep. By the look on his face, she could tell he was already playing basketball in his dreams. Standing by his bed, Mama sprinkled salt in his shoes. Then she prayed quietly over him, as she did with all her children. Dear God, please help Michael to be the best he can be and to give his best in all he does. And Lord, could you help make him just a little bit taller tomorrow than he is today? Thank you. Amen. After that night, Michael wore his favorite game shoes everywhere he went, even to church. And he stopped going to the park with his brothers on Saturdays. Instead, he stayed home and practiced. He wanted to grow a few more inches before he went back out to the park. After 2 months of practicing and waiting patiently and praying, Michael stood next to the growth chart on his wall. Nothing. He hadn't grown an inch. He was disappointed, but he did not stop believing. I've just got to give it time, like Mama said, Michael thought to himself. And that's what he did. 2 more months of practicing went by, and still nothing. Now Michael was becoming a little sad. Not only had he not grown 1 inch, but he also missed playing basketball with Larry and Ronnie. About the only thing he didn't miss was being picked on by Mark. When the next Saturday came, his brothers tried to get Michael to go with them to the park, but he wouldn't budge. Mama had begun to worry. When she saw Michael sitting alone on the steps, she said to Daddy, "Maybe you should go out and talk to him." So Daddy went out and sat with Michael. "What's wrong, son? You haven't gone to the park with your brothers for a while now. Are you okay?" Michael didn't say anything at first. Then he looked at Daddy and said, "I thought I would at least be a few inches taller by now. I did everything Mama told me to do, but nothing's happened." "Michael, why do you want to be taller?" Daddy asked. "If I were taller, I'd be a great player and I could help our team win," Michael answered. "But you are a great player, son, and you already have everything it takes to be a winner. Right in here." Daddy tapped Michael on his chest. "Being taller may help you play a little better, but not as much as practice, determination, and giving your best will. Those are the things that make you a real winner." Michael thought about what Daddy said for a minute. Then suddenly, he jumped up and took off. "Where are you going?" Daddy yelled after him. "I've got a game today and I'm late," Michael yelled back. Okay, let's take another pause. We've been trying to think about who the story is about, where the story happened, and now I want you to think about when you think it happened, and then also make sure to be keeping track of what happened in the story. Take a minute, close your eyes, play back the story to yourself, and think through those details. When Michael reached the park, the game had started. He sat on the bench, hoping he would get a chance to play, and he did. The game was almost over and the score was tied when John, one of the guys on Michael's team, fell and hurt himself. Here was Michael's chance. Michael joined his team in the huddle as they gathered on the sideline for a timeout. "Okay, the game is tied. All we need is 1 point. Who wants to take the shot?" Ronnie asked. He looked in Michael's direction, feeling more confident than ever. Michael said, "I'll do it." When the whistle blew and the game began again, Mark began to pick on Michael as usual. "Still trying to play with the big boys, huh?" Mark taunted. But Michael paid him no attention. Taller or not, he had been practicing, and today he was determined to win. Larry threw the ball inbounds to Michael. Michael caught it, bounced it for a moment, and then took off running. As he approached Mark, Michael shifted to his right. Mark followed. But while he was still shifting, Michael spun to his left. He stepped behind Mark and shot. The ball arced far above his opponent's hand and fell silently through the hoop. 2 points. The game was over. Michael's team had won. It was just as Michael had dreamed. When he realized what he had done, Michael took off running and didn't stop until he had reached home. Bursting through the door, he shouted, "I did it, Daddy!" I shot right over the tall guy's head and we won the game. Running in behind him, Ronnie and Larry joined the celebration. "That's right, little brother. You did it. You won the game for us." Michael remembered the look that Ronnie gave him during the last time out of the game and said, "No, we won the game. But I was the star." And they all laughed. After that day, Mama stopped putting salt in Michael's shoes. But Michael did not stop being patient, working hard, and praying. So, that must be what made Michael grow to be a 6', 6" tall basketball superstar. And that is the story of salt in his shoes. True story about Michael Jordan, and he went on to play for the Chicago Bulls and be one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Okay, before we read, we worked on those 5 W's. So let's quick review. First, who? Who was the character in this story? The main character of this book was definitely Michael Jordan. We also had some important characters like his brothers and his parents, but Michael is definitely the main character. Next, we want to think about when the story happened. Now, this story doesn't tell us the exact date. I actually know that Michael Jordan was born in the 1960s, And so this story happened in the 1970s when he was around 10 to 12 years old. But if you didn't know the exact date, we could say that the when is during the daytime, and that would be sufficient because that's the information we know. The other W that we were thinking about was, where did the story happen? Well, this story happened on the basketball court and at Michael's home. And so if you were writing about where it happened, you could explain those two settings. Then the what, our fourth W, is what, and that's what happened in the story. And so in this part, I would explain that this is a story about a young boy named Michael. I would explain that Michael loved playing basketball with his brothers, but he was upset because he felt like he was too short. He was a lot shorter than a boy named Mark who loved to taunt him on the basketball court. Then you could go on to explain that Michael decided that he would practice really hard, and his mom said that she would put salt in his shoes, pray for him, and encourage him to practice every day. Michael did just that. He prayed, he practiced, and he waited. A lot of time passed, but Michael still didn't grow any taller. Michael continued practicing, but started to get discouraged. His dad encouraged him that it's not about being the tallest, but it's about working hard and having fun. Michael decided to get back out on the court and try again. He was playing with his brothers, and he got to go into the game right at the end. When he played, he had the game-winning shot and won for his team. Michael was overjoyed and went home and got to celebrate with his family. So just that is the what of the story. In it, I tried to explain who the story was about. I explained the problem about him being sad for being shorter than the rest of the players, about the steps he took to try to solve his problem, and I explained how the story ended and what the solution was. So that's the what. And then our last of the 5 W's was why. Why do you think the author wrote this book? Well, I think the author wrote this story to help us to remember the importance of practicing, doing our best, and praying to God. And so this helps to teach us that we can do tons of things just by practicing and working hard. And so just like Michael, you can do that with whatever you set your mind to. I hope you have fun these next couple of days and weeks as you continue working on the 5 W's. Who, when, where, what, and why. Talk to you later, guys.